Car dealership sales staff are quitting in droves. They're simply not able to sell this overpriced junk, especially when dealerships still do market adjustments or some sort of add-ons. Dealerships were the worst they ever were over the last few years, and sales staff had the easiest few years ever. And that was when they had no inventory, because as soon as they got a vehicle on the lot, it was sold before or as soon as it hit the lot for almost whatever they wanted to ask for it, some $10,000, $15,000 over MSRP. But those times are over. Now every single car dealership's completely full and discounts are back, rebates and dealership discounts, especially at the right kind of dealership. So before 2020, dealerships had to do the volume approach. Then their inventory dropped and they were worried about gross profit per vehicle, but those times are done. The only way a dealership can really make it right now is that volume approach. But salespeople are paid on gross profit, so they want to make as much money per deal. But most of the time, they're just getting little minis here and there because customers are starting to negotiate. But even then, the prices are too dang high for most consumers, so they're saying, I'm just not going to buy. The United States is selling less cars than we did in 2016, but I can guarantee you there's 20 times the amount of salespeople. It's crazy. Over 2020, so many people got in the car business. And car dealerships, they just can't keep sales staff for anything. A few months here and there, and they're lucky if they get a year out of someone, but it is what it is. It's full commission, and that's all it is. And they're even losing their mechanics. Mechanics are paid flat rate, which is kind of like commission. Whatever the job says it pays is what they get paid. But their goal is to work more than a day shift in a day. But their goal is to beat the clock. So if the job says it takes 8 hours, well, a good mechanic might be able to get it done in 4. But most mechanics can't do that. And a lot of the cars now are all plastic and all sorts of stuff. And it's crazy because mechanics have to pay for their own tools. They got to get their schooling, all this stuff. It's a real skilled position at the dealership. Probably the only one that cannot be replaced by a computer is the actual mechanic. Because I can tell you, a lot of people are tired of dealing with sales staff. They would much rather just buy the car directly from the manufacturer, not have to deal with a commissioned salesperson, because they don't even know about the car half the time. When it comes to actual knowledge, they don't know. You don't have an expert on your side. You have to be your own expert, do your due diligence, and negotiate to get the best deal possible. And it's coming right out of the salespeople and sales managers' pocket. They just need to sell these cars under MSRP. That's the only way they can sell them, because they're so dang expensive. And then subprime lending so high, so they're having trouble getting people approved. So a car salesman works the deal and then the customer got declined. They want the car, but they just can't buy it because they don't have the credit or the money down. And even the service side of things, you have something called a service advisor, which is going to be a commission job. Half the time they don't know what they're talking about because they're not mechanics, but they relate whatever the mechanic says and they tell that to the customer, and then they try to upcharge you for all this BS stuff. So you try to go in for one thing, then they try to upsell you on all this other stuff. That's why a lot of people do not like going to dealerships for car servicing. And the amount of money they charge, $200, $300 per hour, and then the mechanic's getting $20 or $30. So it's pretty dang crazy. A service advisor or a salesperson can make more than the mechanics. It's pretty crazy. But the salespeople, they had their years. Now it's over. The time is done. It's getting a lot harder. And even sales managers agree. They're like, yeah, a lot of salespeople are quitting left and right. They just can't make it. It's not as easy as it was. People are not just coming in here signing the paper. They don't have any money down. They have bad credit. You just can't get people done like you used to. And imagine if you had to sell nitrogen-filled tires and with a straight face for $300, $400. We've seen that before on a window sticker. And it's all sorts of crazy add-ons that just don't provide any value. And then you have to sell that to a customer over the MSRP right now, when anybody can look it up and see. I mean, it's just a scam. I mean, I've seen $5,000 window tint, $3,000 this, $4,000 that. It's a complete joke in the car market, and dealerships have one of the worst reputations they've ever had now because of what happened over the last few years. So customers are going in there with more understanding to do their own research. And even finance department individuals, which is that F&I box, they're quitting too because they're so used to people just coming in saying, hey, I'll sign the paper, all the warranties, all the gap insurances, all this stuff. And it's all a big waste of money. The finance department is where they can make a lot of money off of you per deal. They can lose money on the front end, but then get you back there. But guess what? Now banks are saying no. Their loan to value ratio, they're not going to allow the finance guy to add $5,000, $7,000 worth of BS product because people aren't making their payments. So they got to be more careful with these loans, and it's starting to hurt these dealers. And it's funny because if you go through a finance department with paying cash, they probably won't even try to sell you warranties. Why is that? It's like they can't sell warranties to cash customers because nobody buys it who's paying cash. The only way they sell sell it as, oh, it's going to raise your payment $30 a month and you get this extra warranty. It's BS and it's additional profit. That's why I'm not a fan of purchasing any additional products from the dealer when you purchase a vehicle, because all it does is make them more money. And people are waking up to that fact and they're not buying that crap, and people are getting fired and laid off at these dealers because they can't produce the numbers. But in all reality, nobody really feels sorry for car dealership employees because it is what it is. You're a car salesman. The average tenure is like 3 months. Nobody wants to do it. It is what it is. Especially over the last few years with market adjustments in the most crazy car market ever, where all these vehicles are being sold over MSRP. Now you guys just screwed your own customer base, because all those people who would come buy a new car right now, they can't because they have negative equity. It's one of the biggest issues in the car market. So salespeople are working all these deals and they're just never going to get them done because you literally put your own customers in a bad situation. And these people would come buy a new car, but they simply can't. Negative equity is crazy. Over $7,000 is just the average. Let me know what you think about this. You'll probably see a lot of car dealerships trying to get salespeople full commission, come sell some cars, and they're going to be begging for mechanics because that's who they really need, skilled positions, and they just simply cannot fill that position. People are tired of it overall, but let me know what you think. Have a great day and stay blessed.